So we'll begin a new lesson, a poem, The Gift of India by Sarojini Naidu. You are quite familiar with the author Sarojini Naidu because you have already done some poems of hers. How many I do not know. At least one I am sure. Last year you had in 9th class, and which was also there for 10th class board exam, the Bangle Sellers. Bangle sellers are we who bear our shining lords the temple fair. You're quite familiar with the lines, famous lines. Bangle sellers are we who bear our shining lords the temple fair. So you are familiar with the author, so you need not spend so much time introducing the author, but still it's better to have a short introduction which is given in your textbook, page number 13. Sarojini Naidu, born Sarojini Chattopadhyay, 1879 to 1949. Also known by the sobriquet, the Nightingale of India, was a poet as well as a prominent figure in the Indian national movement. So she had a nickname or a title given to her, the Nightingale of India. Nightingale is supposed to be a bird which sings beautifully. And just because Sarojini Naidu was composing many poems, and she became the Nightingale of India. She was a poet and prominent figure in the Indian national movement. That is how she was very popular. She joined the Indian national movement when she was very young and occupied very prestigious positions. Naidu joined the Indian national movement in the wake of partition of Bengal in 1905. She helped establish the Women's Indian Association in 1917. In 1925, Naidu presided over the annual session of Indian National Congress at Kanpur. In 1929, she presided over East African Indian Congress in South Africa. So all these things I need not explain. Nothing is need to be explained because everything is clear. Unlike Fritz Satyajit Ray introduction, there were so many new words. Here nothing, everything is familiar. So you can just read through it, that's enough. She was one of the women protesters at the Darshana Salt Works, Gujarat in 1931. She participated in the Roundtable Conference with Gandhi and Madan Mohan Malaviya. In 1942, she was arrested during the Quit India movement. After independence, Naidu went on to serve as the first governor of the United Provinces of Agra and Oudh from 1947 to 1949. The first woman to become the governor of an Indian state. So she was the first governor of an Indian state. It is very important because she was the governor of Agra and Oudh, which has become Uttar Pradesh today. So you can be proud that she was the first woman governor of ours. As a poet, Sarojini Naidu was well known for her intensely lyrical pieces, such as in the Bazaars of Hyderabad, Palanquin Bearers, and Coromandel Fishes, in which she portrayed the beauty and variety of India and her traditions. Here just a word of explanation is needed. She was well known for her intensely lyrical pieces. What do you mean by intense? She expressed her swift thoughts and strong emotions. That's what it means. Swift thoughts, SWIFT, swift thoughts and strong emotions. Various emotions were expressed by her through poems. So a few examples that are given. We'll move on. Through her poetry, she tried to arouse a sense of pride and patriotism in the hearts of her countrymen. So that was her achievement. She managed to instill patriotic feelings in the hearts of the readers. The Gift of India, written in 1915, is both a celebration and a demand for accounting, as Mother India proclaims proudly her gifts to the West, including her sons who were martyred in the battlefields of the First World War. So there is a special reference is made to India, which was generous in helping the West, the Westerners. We had at least three prominent countries that ruled India, and the British were the longest, who stayed longest until the end. So this is in reference to that. And so many soldiers were taken to various places for war. Not only in India, wherever the British was fighting against other people, the soldiers were taken there and fought for the sake of the British. And many have become martyrs. Who is a martyr? A martyr is one who lays down his life. Here the soldiers became the martyrs because many had to sacrifice their lives. So I have the introduction and the poem together. I tried to put it in a nutshell so that you can understand it easily. So her contribution to India can be counted under the three headings. What are they? She was a patriot, she was a freedom fighter, and she was a poet. So this is just trying to give a gist, a short summary of the entire poem. So who was she? She was a patriot, creating patriotic feelings among the people through her writings, because she herself was a patriot. She had a great love for her country, and she was a patriot. She was a freedom fighter. She joined the Indian national movement, and she was fighting for the nation's freedom. And she was a versatile poet. So these were the three areas she contributed. So she had been to different places. Sarojini Naidu has been to different places. She was born in a Bengali family. She was born in a Bengali family. The family had migrated to Hyderabad. She was born and brought up in Hyderabad. So her background was that of the Bengalis. Bengal was known for its education, its art forms, and its great love for the nation. You know, starting from Rabindranath Tagore and so many people who had an ardent love for India. And regarding education and art forms, including poetry, they were very popular. So that is her roots. Born in a Bengali family. She was born and brought up in Hyderabad. Hyderabad was ruled by the Nizams. So she knew what is slavery and she was fighting for India. She was mesmerized by the beauty of Hyderabad and she has written so many poems based on her life in Hyderabad. She was educated at Chennai, London and Cambridge. So she was educated in Chennai, London and Cambridge. So she has been moving from place to place. Since she kept on moving like that, she was a owner of great experiences. So she was a woman of rich experiences. So this background of Bengal, being born and brought up in Hyderabad and moving to Chennai, London and other places made her an experienced woman, a rich experiences and knowledge. And she was given the title Nightingale of India, that we have already seen. Why she was given this title? Because of her poetry, I already told you. I want to add something more. So she gave expressions to joys and sorrows. She gave expression to joys and sorrows. So no, she was not writing poems just to express sorrows or to express joy. She expressed both, expressing joys as well as sorrows. So she gave expression to joys and sorrows. And she wrote poems for children. She wrote about nature. She wrote patriotic poems. She wrote poems of love. She wrote poems of death. That is what made her a versatile poet, and she got the title Nightingale of India. So, expressing joys and sorrows, writing variety of poems meant for children, about nature, patriotic poems, poems about love, and poems about death. So she was very good at expressing both the feelings of joy and sorrow. The gift of India is emotionally charged response to the martyrdom of Indian soldiers in foreign lands. So this poem, The Gift of India, is emotionally charged response. She is responding to the martyrdom of Indian soldiers. Many Indian soldiers were killed, massacred, martyred in foreign lands. So she is responding to this event and she has written the poem. When did it happen? During the First World War. First World War time, when the British were ruling Indians, they took advantage of it and the Indian soldiers were forced to go to foreign lands and fight for the British against the enemies of British, not enemies of India. When was the First World War? 1914 to 1919. So that time many lost their lives. So she is responding it. Who is a speaker? Who is a speaker? It is Mother India. So it's very important. Mother India is speaking. Though it is a poet is imagining that she is Mother India. So Mother India herself is speaking. What is Mother India speaking about? What is Mother India speaking about? She is speaking about love, devotion, and heroism. Love, so if you know these things, it will be very easy for you to write your essays. All these points are very, very important. So she is, the Mother India is speaking. What is Mother India speaking about? Speaking about love, devotion, and heroism of her own children. Love, devotion, and heroism of her own children. So the soldiers who lay down their life in foreign lands, who are they? They are children of Mother India, the sons of India. There is no feminism and masculinism here. You know that those days, most of the soldiers, not most, all the soldiers who went abroad, they were men, not women. So that's why she will be addressing them as sons. And the last point here is many gifts offered. Many gifts were offered to the Westerners. Westerners are people who came from the West. Here it is, or the foreign powers, especially the British. The British. So they were given many gifts. Innumerable gifts. You can't even count them. So much they carried. But among all the gifts, what is the most important one? The gift of her children's lives. So, of all the things Mother India gave to foreigners, the Westerners, among all the gifts, the most important gift is the lives of her own children. That is the most precious gift. So that is the gist of the poem, what I said. So if you remember that one, you can make use of it for any essay that is asked. We should start the poem, page number 14. The gift of India, Sarojini Naidu. Is there what you need that my hands withhold? Rich gifts of raiment or grain or gold. Lo, I have flung to the east and the west priceless treasures torn from my breast, and yielded the sons of my stricken womb to the drumbeats of the duty, the saviors of doom. Gathered like pearls in their alien graves, silent they sleep by the Persian waves, scattered like shells on Egyptian sands, they lie with pale brows and brave, broken hands. They are strewn like blossoms mown down by chance on the blood brown meadows of Flanders and France. So we shall take line by line and I shall explain. Is there what you need that my hands withhold? Ought. Ought, you know what is the meaning of ought? Ought has different meanings. It can mean should, probable. It can also mean require. Require. R-E-Q-U-I-R-E. Is there what you need that my hands withhold? Is there anything that probably you needed? You can explain that way. Is there anything that you probably needed? Is there anything that you should have needed? Is there anything that you required that I withheld? What is the meaning of withhold? To hold back. To hold back without giving. Suppose I have some chocolates and you are asking for the chocolate. I take it, but I don't give it. I give one or two, the rest of it I withhold. I keep it with me. So hold back without giving. That's the meaning. Is there what you need that my hands withhold? Is there anything that you needed and I did not give you? So Mother India is asking the Westerners, is there anything that you needed and I am withholding? That means there is nothing. There is nothing that I am withholding which you needed. That presupposes or says, I have given everything that you needed. See the meaning? It looks very simple. It's not so simple. Follow clearly. So is there anything that I withheld without giving? Which means there is nothing that I withheld. It would mean that I have given you everything. Nothing is withheld. Everything is given. Is there what you need that my hands withhold? Rich gifts of raiment or grain or gold. What are the things I have given? So she is naming some of them. Naming some of them. There are many, hundreds and thousands of them. But she is naming some of them into three different categories. Rich gifts of raiment. Raiment is clothing. Clothes. Clothing or you can say garments. You have this is raiment. You have raiment. R-A-Y-M-O-N-D, Raymond, famous brand of cloth. So this is raiment. Raiment is clothes or garments. That is one item. Another one is grain. All that is connected with the food. All that is connected with the food. Or gold. The foreigners were mad after. The foreigners were mad after it. Sir, you are waiting. Two are waiting. So, the foreigners were mad after the precious precious ornaments and other things in gold. So she's just naming three. One is garment, another one is grain, food grains. Many food grains, the British army, those who were here, they were fed well and they carried away to their land whatever they wanted. So many things were carried, but she is naming a few of them. Lo, I have flung to the east and the west priceless treasures torn from my breast, and yielded the sons of my stricken womb to the drumbeats of the duty, the sabers of doom. So the whole thing has to be seen together. Lines 3, 4, 5, 6. 3, 4, 5, 6. The four lines have to be seen together. So first part is over. She says, I given all that you needed, nothing I withheld, including garments, food, grains, and gold. Now she says, lo. Lo is a kind of calling attention. Look, lo, inviting. Please pay attention. Lo, I have flung to the east and the west. The east and the west. The east and west can mean, east is a reference to Persia. The British people fought war in Persia. Countries like Egypt, they were fighting, Arabian countries. So that is reference to east. West is reference to France and Flanders. France and Flanders. France and Flanders are nearby countries. After France, immediately after France, you have Belgium. Flanders is in Belgium. So, it's a reference to east and west. Lo, I have flung to the east and the west. What is the meaning of flung? Flung, last day I was telling in the class. Flung means to throw. Throw or push forward. Pushing forcefully. So throwing or pushing forcefully with force. That means unwillingly. Here that is the meaning. Unwillingly pushed forward. Unwillingly thrown. I have flung to the east and the west. Unwillingly I have thrown to the east and to the west. What did I throw? Priceless treasures torn from my breast. Priceless treasures torn from my breast. It is completely filled with meaning. So much of deep meaning is there. So priceless treasures torn from my breast. Ultimately it means Indian soldiers. Indian soldiers. How dear were the Indian soldiers? They were so precious. They were my loving children. They were close to my heart. They were torn from my breast. Taken away from my breast forcefully. If you take literally, suppose a child who is being fed with milk by the mother. The child does not want to get away. But forcefully, if he is taken away, the child will be crying, wailing. And that's one meaning, literal meaning. Another meaning is that close to the heart. Someone who is close to the bosom, close to the heart means someone who is very dear. So, someone who is so loving and dear to my heart has been forcibly taken away. Who are they? They are the Indian soldiers who went abroad to fight. They were scattered in the east, to the east and the west. So some people went to fight wars in the east, some others went to the west. I gave generously my children to both the places. And yielded the sons of my stricken womb to the drumbeats of the duty. Drum beats of the duty is, you know what is a drum? When the war is going on, when the soldiers have to move for the war, they sound the drum. And the soldiers march ahead according to the beating of the drum. You must have seen some movies, old movies depicted about war. So they keep beating the drum. As they beat the drum, the soldiers left, right, they march ahead. So the drum beat is a call to come for war. Get ready and move forward for the war. So to the drum beats of duty, what to do? Mother India yielded the sons of her stricken womb. W-O-M-B. B is silent, so you have to pronounce as womb, not womb, womb. So Mother India yielded. Yielded means provided or gave. Yield means to produce, one meaning. Another one is to provide. Here the meaning is provided or has given. Mother India has given her sons of her stricken womb. What is stricken? Strike, stroke, stricken. What is stricken? Sorrowful. Sorrowful womb. Every child born to the mother carries the child in the womb for 9 months and she gives birth with a lot of pain. So every child is so precious to the mother. Every child. Even if a mother has 10 children, each one is important. Each one is precious. See, here there are thousands and millions of children Mother India has got. Everybody is precious. So the sorrowful womb means the womb that suffered the pain. The womb which was pained by carrying them in the womb and giving birth. Such children were surrendered to the Britishers and they were scattered to the east and to the west to fight wars for them. And she calls it the saviors of doom. Very important, that word. S-A-B-E-R is pronounced as saber, not sabers, saber. Saviors of doom. What is a saber? It's a long, heavy sword. Long, heavy sword with a curved blade. Long, heavy sword with curved blades is called saber. So, sabers are supposed to cut their throats, cut their limbs. Soldiers lose their hands, they lose their legs, they become handicapped, they lose their head and they are dead. So that is the work of saber. And she calls it saviors of doom. What is the meaning of doom here? Destruction. Saviors of doom, they were swords of doom, swords of death and destruction. So now once again look at the whole thing together. Lo, I have flung to the east and the west, priceless treasures torn from my breast, and yielded the sons of my stricken womb to the drumbeats of the duty, the saviors of doom. So I have forcefully taken children from my breast, the children who were born to me, whom I carried in my womb with pain and gave birth with pain. Such dear children were forcefully taken away from me, and I yielded them to the drumbeats of war. So they were being marched to the war. Where? In the east and the west to fight for the British. And it was a savior's doom. It was a sword of death and destruction. Pregnant, full with meaning. Every word is loaded with meaning. If we do not understand, In the proper way, you don't understand the poem. Gathered like pearls in their alien graves, silent they sleep by the Persian waves. Scattered like shells on Egyptian sands, they lie with pale brows and brave, broken hands. They are strewn like blossoms mown down by chance on the blood-brown meadows of Flanders and France. Again, all these lines go together to form meaning. So we are just like the previous 4 lines. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All the 6 lines go together, contributing to the rich meaning. Let's look at it. Gathered like pearls in their alien graves, silent they sleep by the Persian waves. So soldiers fought the war in the west and in the east. In the west we mean France and Flanders. In the east, Egypt and other countries of the east. They fought the war. So when they fought the war, many soldiers lost their lives because they were saviors of doom. The swords of doom, either they are destroyed completely or they are killed forever. So after the war, you look at the battlefield, how the dead bodies are scattered. It is a very, very sorrowful sight. My children who are so loving, so close to my heart, they were taken away from here and now their dead bodies are just scattered everywhere. Where are they scattered and how they are scattered in different places is explained in these lines. How they are scattered in Egypt, how they are scattered in France, how they are just thrown out in Flanders. So the different ways the poet is looking at the dead bodies that are being thrown after the war. You know, those days the wars were very, very, very drastic. Today's wars are mechanized. Those were not. So, very crude forms of killing. Gathered like pearls in their alien graves. What is a grave? Grave is a place where you are buried after your death. Grave, G-R-A-V-E, G-R-A-V-E, grave. So graves are place where your dead body is buried. So she calls it alien graves. Why? Alien means foreign. Alien means foreign. You have the aliens, no? Aliens coming from another planet, aliens. So their bodies are thrown in the foreign land. They were sent to the east and to the west and they died there. But where are they buried? Are they buried? After the war, who buries the bodies? No burying. They are just scattered. So, gathered like pearls in their alien graves. They were all gathered. They were all put together. End of the war, all the dead bodies are just brought together and thrown, dumped somewhere. So, how are they gathered? How are they collected? They were collected like pearls in their alien graves. You know what is pearls? Why they are pearls? Every word is important. Why they are pearls? Because they are so precious. Pearls are precious stones. They are precious to whom? To Mother India. Not to the foreigners. They are opportunists. The Britishers took the help of Indians to fight war for them. But once they are wounded, once they are dead, they don't care for them. They are just a dead body. They are dead bodies for them. But for Mother India, they are precious stones. So they were gathered like precious pearls from their foreign graves. Silent they sleep by the Persian waves. Beautiful expression. Silent they sleep by the Persian waves. You know that Persia is full of sea. It's on the seashore. All these countries are on the seashore, and most of the wars took place along the seashore because they were coming by the ship. Soldiers were being brought by ship. Those days, aeroplanes were few. Most of the soldiers were brought by the ship, then they go on the foot. So most of the wars were fought, and the bodies were just thrown on the seashore. And when the waves come up, the ebb and flow of the wave, when there is a flow in the sea, the water will come and touch the dead bodies and go back. Silent they sleep by the Persian bay. So water comes, touches them and goes back to the sea. But they are silent. Why are they silent? They are completely silent. They are dead. The soldiers are dead. They have to be silent. Scattered like shells on Egyptian sea. They are scattered. Thrown here and there. You scatter. You scatter the seeds, you scatter stones, you can scatter many things. So, scatter means to spread or sprinkle or throw. So, they are scattered like shells on Egyptian sands. Egypt is known for its sands. Egypt is not a sea, it's not a seashore, but it has got plenty of sands. So, on the Egyptian sand, they are thrown like shells. Dead bodies are just thrown like shells. You can just go and gather. If you go to, I think being in UP, you may not have gone to sea. If you get a chance to go to sea, you will find the children go around on the beach collecting shells. It's a hobby. These days, I don't know. Maybe their hobbies are changing, but at least in the past, collecting shells was one of the best hobbies, wherein they gather shells of different types and bring them home and preserve them. That's a hobby. So just like the children gather the shells, the dead bodies were gathered because they were all dead in the war. Gathered like pearls in their alien graves, silent they sleep by the Persian waves, scattered like shells on Egyptian sands. They lie with pale brows and brave, broken hands. They are strewn like blossoms mown down by chance on the blood-brown meadows of Flanders and France. They lie with pale brows and brave. What is brow? This is a brow. You have the eyebrows. So what is the best color or healthy color of a brow? It would be either dark or it could be little brownish, but not pale, not yellowish. Yellowish brow is a sign of lack of blood. Pale means somebody looking pale means he doesn't have that sufficient blood circulation. The boys who are girls who are unhealthy, who have a less content of hemoglobin, their hands, if you look at their fingers, you'll find the fingers are very pale and their eyes are pale, eyebrows are pale. As a result, it will be something looking like a yellowish in color. Actually, it should be dark or a brown color. So, excellent poetry. So, silent they sleep, okay. They lie with pale brows and brave. Though they are pale brows, though their brows are pale, looking unhealthy. Why their brows are pale? Because they are dead. There's no more alive. They are no more alive. They are dead. But they are brave people. Why? They have sacrificed their life. They are children of Mother India. They have sacrificed their life for a cause. But was the cause worth enough? That you have to find out. Going and fighting for a foreign power and laying down your life, is it worth having? That you have to think. Ask yourself. But they were brave people, they fought and lost their life. So they lie with pale brows and brave, broken hands. So their limbs were broken, hands and legs were broken. They are strewn like blossoms mown down by chance on the blood-brown meadows of Flanders and France. High imagination, high imagination. What is meadows? You know, meadows are yesterday I was explaining to you meadows. Meadows are a place where grass is grown. Green grass is grown and they are mowed. They are mowed, means trimmed and kept for beauty. So you can just sit on the grass and enjoy the beauty of it. So that is meadows. So on that meadows, by chance, the flowers fall down. The meadow is green, the flowers are of different colors, like yellow or red or white. They look marvelous, the combination with the green. So, how are these dead bodies thrown? It is in that manner. They are strewn like blossoms. Strewn means scattered. Strewn is scattered. How are they scattered? Like blossoms. Blossoms are flowers. They are scattered like flowers. What are those flowers? Mown down by chance, destroyed by chance. They had already fallen, they have been destroyed by chance. Similarly, these people also, by chance means by fate or unexpectedly. Indiscriminately means without showing any discrimination, any difference. Without showing any difference. Every flower was destroyed. Every soldier was killed. No distinctions. No discriminations. Whether he is fat or lean, whether he is healthy or unhealthy, whether he is willing or unwilling, everybody was put to death. So, they are strewn like blossoms mown down by chance on the blood-brown meadows of Flanders and France. Here the meadows are not green in color, they are blood brown. They are turned, color has turned into brown. Green color is turned into brown. Why? Because of the blood of the soldiers being poured into the meadow. Okay, so we will see the rest of it tomorrow. Thank you.